One of the things I got out of the book was the power of story as opposed to fact and logic and planning, but the power of story, and you've used the word journey a lot. Can you tell us more about your view of the power of story?
In the book, we worked closely with Marshall Ganz. And Marshall Ganz is the great famed community organizer who worked in the 60s in the civil rights movement, and then for many years for Cesar Chavez, organizing the farm workers movement, and is now a longtime faculty member at Harvard, one of the most popular faculty members. And Marshall teaches in my class and has become a very close collaborator of ours. And he says the way to build community is through, first and foremost, through the power of story, because it's how we connect. It's the connective tissue that weaves us all together. And he has a specific formula he uses, which is to just really think about why am I called to do this work? What is it for me that really makes this work important? Which is something I think we miss day to day because we get so focused on the bottom line. We don't necessarily think, every day I'm called to do this work because I'm moved to save the environment or protect children or impact global health or whatever it is. I think that's really important. And then after you've really identified that, and of course, again, that continues to grow and deepen as you get deeper into the work, it's why are we called to do this? We exist in relationship to each other. This is certainly the premise of the Generosity Network, that we can't do it alone. The old Frank Sinatra song, I Did It My Way, is just, it's a myth. We've got to do this together. And why are we as a collective community called to do this? Why does this matter now? And that's the last piece, is the now question. And the now question is really about the question of urgency. And certainly not urgency as in the world's coming to an end, because that's a fear-based response that really actually limits people's ability to get moving. But it's why now? What difference is it going to make? How's the world going to look different if we start mobilizing in a really meaningful way today? And so that's really the framework we use. And, Marshall, again, teaches it in my class. And we spend a lot of time with these leaders, helping them identify their own story, their collective story, and why does it matter right now?
It's getting each person, that you're involved in a collaboration to tell their story. And most people don't know the other person's reason that they're passionate about a particular cause or a team that they like to work with. And so if you can get the stories to start coming, there's a real lot of openings and a lot of opportunities to connect. For example, when I tell my story, where, in 7th grade, I walk in the band room and the band director gives me a tuba to play, and I start learning about music and understanding and feeling what it's like to play music with others, to create something beyond anything I could do by myself, that's for sure. And that feeling, that energy, and that present moment state, I like to do that again and again and again. And it drove me through my life, not only for a love of music, but a love of connecting and working with others in teams. And so it drove me through at JP Morgan. And, so all these tools apply in the business world, as much as they do in the social organizing, community organizing worlds. How do you connect these teams together? How do you reinforce these networks? And so when you look, and when I look to, whether it's in the private equity business, which I was in, or whether it's now in the social enterprise world or nonprofit world, building these teams, building a little jazz band of your own, where you understand each person has their own unique sound, their own unique skills, instruments to play, and bringing them together to create something that's innovative, that you didn't think would come, until you start hearing the sounds, people having managed egos so that they're working well together as the team, and then understanding that there's an audience, that there's somebody you're performing for and with that you want to connect to. And so that drives me in all of the different nonprofits I work with, or the different boards I work on, or the philanthropists I work in partnership with.
Thank you so much for doing that, Jeff. I could read your bio and I would never get that sense of what motivates you and who you are doing it. It was, the jazz analogy was fabulous. Thanks. Jennifer, would you be willing to tell your story?
Yeah, I started as a fundraiser 25 years ago, and I worked for my little liberal arts college and absolutely believed in liberal arts and wanted to share it with the world in some ways. And just, was very fortunate because I had a college president who said to me, just go out and make 300 face-to-face visits this year. You absolutely cannot raise money sitting behind a desk. And so, 21 years old. Oh, and by the way, he said, you're covering New York City. And I grew up in Pittsburgh and really had never been out of that sort of part of the Western Pennsylvania. And so I just sort of fearlessly threw myself in. We were raising money for a science building. It was the late 80s, so I always say I had the big shoulder pads and the frizzy perm and the big briefcase walking around, and I'd pull out the blueprints and would talk, meeting with alumni and parents and saying, your name goes here, this is what we're doing. And I would just go in and pitch. And I was having absolutely no luck. And I hated my job. And I remember about halfway through the year, and I really do remember this moment so, so clearly because I was walking up Fifth Avenue and I was going back to my little hotel room, and I thought, I have to get a new job. And I was a philosophy major, so I didn't quite know what I was going to do with that, but I knew fundraising was not it. And then, that night I was sitting in my hotel room and I was really thinking to myself, something doesn't add up. Because I know that the people that, with whom I'm meeting and who I'm talking to and I'm learning their stories and everything else want to make a difference in the world. They care about science, they care about the leaders of tomorrow, they care about education. And I know that I have the exact same passion. And I'm going in and asking them, without really understanding who they are, just to invest. So it was much more of a pitch. And so my epiphany was really, how do I go in and really just talk human being to human being right from the first meeting and get rid of the sales techniques and just start talking for real? And it's shifted. I've, again, been in the business for 25 years. I've, worked on multi-billion-dollar capital campaigns, and fundraising is an absolute place of joy because it's needed to get everything done that we need and want to get done in our world.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's fascinating to me how often the liberal arts come into this conversation as you get, Charlie Collier at Harvard, and now we've got music, we've got philosophy. It is fascinating. The skills you're using are really the skills of the humanity.